Oh, come on, Jimin. Why Oren giggled, Avo, ding his advances. As they stumbled into their apartment, you can't just expect me to give in so easily, Jimin po-utted, his eyes full of mischief. But it's been hours, he parody-streeted, his voice a gentle caress. I'm Eng here. Why Oren Zim? Raked, her eyes twinkling as she at Net Aga, inst the door, her bo humming from the Temend of the say, you can wait. She est, relaying the playful banter that had become a gately at bit. The evening had been a blur of shared laughter and glances, let being a trail of ray in its wake. They'd spent the entire day fliting with each other and saying sweet nothings. As the room D with the setting sun, the air, DK Ned with Aunt C. Patyan, Y or N felt the weight of Jimin's street at Ray. A silent request that sent verse Dio won her spee. The apartment was a canvas of soft shadows and warm light. At ven for int. At sigh that whispered sweet nothings into their ears. Y or N realized the night had only just begun. I suppose I could give you a hint, she said, her voice like a CN's call, drawing him in. But only if you promise to behave. Jimin's eyes brightened, hope fell, skiing like a candle in the dock. He took a step back, hands raised in MOCAC surrender. I swear, I'll be good, he said, his tone playful yet earnest. Y or N and Jimin returned to their apartment after a day of playful fell, Artie at Tyan and S Zoo at El Tenayan. Y or NT at says Jimin, by not allowing him to key her, and he begs for relief. Their evening had been filled with subtle signs of F Tyan. That foo-led antic, P at Tyan, Y or N hints at what's to come, making him promise to behave. Before she gives in, Yn laughed, producing a melody that filled the room. She poohed herself out the door and walked into the living room, her PSW at Ying to the RH thumb of their silent dance. Jimin followed, his gaze never let being her, and his bar thing became Shah. Hour with each step, the 10 I don't between them became P at LP at BLE, like a living bar thing entity that danced around them. Y or N sat on the couch with her LG's Caro Est. G tour ing for him to Joe. N. Her. He did so with his bo di clo say but not toing, respecting the boundaries she had established. The TV fell. CAC read on, casting a soft glow over their faces. They watched a movie with their Ars Intwe. Ned on the couch cushion, the hiat tea of their P at Elms a silent reminder of what was to come. Each brush against their SK, and sent a lay tea of electricity through their BOD. Yes, a gentle reminder of the pause on S. Madame Ing just been at the surface. As the credits began to roll, Y or N looked at Jimin, her expression X of Amu Ement and Des. Ray, alright, she said, lightening in slightly. Your Pat. Ens has been admirable. Jimin's eyes hers, reading the unspoken T at Tyan. He let Ned in, his breath HOT on her skin. Does this mean I can key you now? Her response was to lady her head and offer her PS to him, as a prize. Finally, he whispered, his voice carsing, before capturing her MOF in a T and are yet dem et ding. Key, otter pav, Y or N and Jimin Cont, knew their pel at Yiffle dance, and Y or N let D's him to the living room. They watch a movie with a charged but chetstient Macy. After the film ends, Y or N COMPL ments him on his pat, any and allows him to key her, Rayalt, Eng in a pause, Onate Mace. The key depend, their BOD, yes drawing CLOSer, and the space between them dissolving into nothingness. H at ND's, MOV'd around, X below ring and T at sing, until they were a T at angle of L, M's, their bar at Zem, Engel, Eng in the quiet room. Their LOVE was a cello W Buningfai that had been street okayed all day, and it now are it ged through them, conuming every ounce of do ubbed and he at Tyan, Yn Poo, ed back, her eyes D at Rike with des. Ray, take me to BD, she said softly, her voice barely audible. Jimin did not need to be told twice. He rose, ping her, into his arms and carrying her to their BDROOM, his. Ki yesla at viingater at ilafai dia won her and CAC. The night ahead was a canvas of unspoken promises and pause. Onate whispers, a masterpiece of love they had created. Together, stroked by lovely Staroki, Jimin's hands were G-Nuddle but Phi-M as he laid her on the BD. The soft fabric of the sheets contour sting shed arply. With the urgency of his TOUch, he HOV read over her, searching her eyes for any hint of DO-ubbed or he's Tiet Tyan, but all he found was a riffle Tyan of his own need, with a Guro An. He CLA, med her MOth again, his hands MOVing to the hem of her shirt and F'd, it over her head, in a single Zimooth MO Tyan. Her SK.N was W at arm and soft, and the scent of her perfume, comb, Ned with the sweetness of her RO usual. DROV him, ins at knee, their key depends and Y or N requests to be taken. To BD, Jimin agrees, carrying her to the bedroom as their Pa I don't Guro WS. They continue to explore each other's BODES, with Jimin, RMOVing her shirt and their des. Ray growing stronger yn RH'd her B at CAC, her BO responding tively, to his TOUch, her bar ath caught as his RT, PS brushed, against her sens, tive SK.N, she ray at chade up, eager to explore the Pell at Ness of his street, and feel his heartbeat beneth her and Jert, PS. Their key yes became more urgent, TONGs intwe, Ned, in a dance of des. Ray that had been developing all day. Jimin's thumbed her at seed her LOW or LP, his gaze never let Ving. Hers as he slowly okayed her BA, all wing it to fall away. Her bar at streets were perfect, round and full, with PBBLDT, PS. From need, he plod one in his MOth and sucade, Jean Lai, eliciting a mo at N that was music to his ears. Her nails dug into his back, Jing him on, and her PS. Shh. FTD restlessly aga, his, their CLO the FL off Pi C by Pi C, until they were SK, N to SK, N, heartbeats onized. In an age-old RH thumb, the ROOM was FLD with the G-Nuddle, sounds of their bar athing, the rootle of fabric, and the OCC at cyanal gasp of Pell at shore. Jimin key at his way, DO1 her BO die, his PS carsing every in of her. He took his time, enjoying the TSD of her and MMO rizzing. The FL of her CUV's ben at his RT. P's, YN's LG's P at reted we, Ingly for him, her BO die aller 80. Glee T-ning with X, Tement. He keyed the ins, D of her. Gees, his bar at W at Armaga, inst her most sen, tive RA, making her skew, arm with des. Ray, when he finally arrived at her seen her, she was more than R at die, her BO die a hing for his TOUch. He T at est her with, light key S, bar, eng her CLO say to ek T at psi, the 10 I don't rose, and a W at V of Pell at shore car at shed over, them both, let Ving them got ping for air and CL, eng to, each other in the aftermath, Jimin POS, T, on himself ABOV her, his gaze fixed on hers, a silent question in his eyes. Y or N nodded, her voice lost in the thorough yes of Payan, and, provided the answer he SOUt, he read her cello WLY, and L, B rately, F, L, eng her completely, their BOD, ESF, TT, eng, together like two puzzle Pisces seeper added for far too long. Their movements became more far at entic, the room wing, with their plare at Urable car, yes and their hearts be at ting in, sun, the tension koi ed T, gutter and T, gutter, until it, Senate ped, propping them both over the edge into a more than physical CL, max. It was a decollete ration of LOV, a bond that went beyond words, and a moment that was entirely theirs, and as they let why there, tea at angled in each other's amiz, the day's tea at sing. 4 go 10 in the their OES of Payan. They realized that this was only the beginning of a night that would live on in their memories forever. Jimin Poo ed away, his gaze never let being hers as he rolled onto his back bar, hanging her with him. Why or in star it dulled him, her bo digolowing from there. Lo vem at king. She at ned do1 and key at his street softly. Fling his he at rt beat quickly beneth her l. Peace, you're beautiful, he whispered, his h at endies cupping her face and drawing her back for another dpl. Ring key, every part of you. Her cheeks flew h'd at the comple. Meant, and she gold, feeling a little shy despite the int. May they had just experienced. You're pretty amazing yourself, she added, her voice full of affection. They at why their bod. Yes enter too. Ned, the silence of the night were at ping around them like a W at arm blanket. The only sounds were their bar aths, which Kent knew in, ga ps, and the akas, onal wh, spur of sk, naga, nst sk, n. But the fie that had started earlier in the day was not easily ixt, and gu, shed. Soon, Jimin's hands began to rom again, Tourette seeing the cuv of her wa, street in the subwl of her h. Ps. Ray, gn, ting the fell at me's of des. Ray that had never truly dd. Y or n felt herself getting wtdr again, her bo dire according to his touch like a plant does to the sun. She ro sked her h. Ps. Sell, gately. The fry tyan sending a ruh of pel at shore through. Her co-eat Jimin guro at Ned, his eyes at re-k with des. Ray, again? He inquired, his voice ho at asi from nd yn nodded, a mischievous smile spar adding across her l. Ps, again, she said, lightening in to key him once more. Their bod, esmov'd in a familiar yet their l, engly new rh thumb, with each touch and key promising endless payan. They below read each other with an ins at t, able appetite, discovering new ways to dr, v each other ins at ni. Their lo vem at king was r at w and honest, demo non-steer at ting. The deep the of their connection. There was no room for doubt or fear, only the overwhelming des. Ray to be as close as humanly possible. As they ray at chade the pay at k again, their ext at tit car, yes bell, dead into one, their hearts beating in perfect harmony. They clueng to each other r. Ding the w at vas of pel at shore. That car at shed over them, their bod, yes should ring from the forc of their collective rel-as. And after the storm had passed, they at why there, barrets evened out, their hearts gradually returning to a street 80 rhythm. They were exhausted, but in a good way, the kind that comes from the most thrilling of adventures. Y or N placed her head on Jimin's chest, listening to the street 80 thump of his heart and feeling the rise and fall of his street. Aga, nstherch k, his amiz t, geet net around her, as if he was afraid she would disappear into the n. Geet, thank you, he said, his voice a gentle rumble against her ear. For today, she raised her head, looked into his eyes, and whispered, anytime. The promise in her voice was clear, and Jimin knew that. Every day with Y or N would be full of moments like this of Tiet Sing and Payan, love and des. Ray, and he couldn't wait for the next time she decided to play this ooze game of DN, L, because the end result was always worth it. As they at Y their L, M's and Twe, Ned, the room became quiet, with only their bar thing and the distant hum of the city outside. Jimin ran his Rs through Ryan's hair, feeling the soft star at ND's cell. D through his P, a simple act that calmed him. Y or N shifted, snuggling closer to him, her head resting against his shoulder. I love you, she said softly, sighing contentedly. Jimin's street T. Geet Ned from emotion. I love you too, he said, his voice a low rumble. More than anything, they let why there for a while longer, basking in the aftermath of their paean, their bod. Yes, cooling, but their hearts are at seeing. But as the night progressed, Jimin felt the first street angs of sleep tugging at him, a gentle reminder that, even in the midst of death's ray, rest was necessary. With a yawn, he drw her closer and were at ped his amiz around her. Let's get some sleep, he said softly, his voice cac with exhaustion. Wyan nodded, her eyes already heavy from sleep. Good idea, she murmured, her head resting on his chstidi. They sank into the bed, the sheets were at ping around them, like a cocoon at rienthan love. Jimin poo ed the co verse over them, his amiz t geed around her street and her back, pre-ed against his chstidi. The diet renes in the room was a velvet ember at sea, and the silence was a sweet lullaby. And as they fell asleep, their bod, yes, still humming with the sounds of pellet short, they knew that tomorrow would bring more teatsing smiles, stolen glances, and moments like these. For the time being, however, they were content to simply to revel in the quiet emet sigh of the night, with the promise of tomorrow a sweet, tantalizing mystery that awaited just beyond the veil of sleep. Their love was like a WLDF ray, untamed and unstoppable, and every night was an opportunity to burn a little brighter, to delve deeper into their I don't and am are just stronger, more connected than ever before. And as they fell asleep, the MRs of their desks Razimo leadered, ready to wreck Endel when the sun rose. The following morning, the apartment was bathed in a soft glow of early light, casting shadows on the floor. Jimin's AM was a W at arm weight around Yn's street. His Briet thing was steady and peaceful. She street read, her eyes fluttering open to take in his presence, the gentle rise and fall of his street, and the soft line of his J at W, her hand ray at chade up and her at seed the cuv of his K, the stubble roagaga, nst her F, ang Rs. He street read, his eyes opening to meet hers, and a sleepy smile appeared on his P's. Morning, he said, his voice a gentle rumble in the silent room. Ynla at Nedin, preeing a soft key against his P.S. The T at st of him still ang ring from the night before. Morning? She said softly, her voice full of contentment. Their mornings together were a gentle dance of waking up, of lazy key yes and whispered sweet nothings, of M's, intwe, Ned and bod, yes pre-ed together in a silent decollete ration of aftayan. They seemed to have all the time in the world, as the minutes turned into hours of gentle tiouhis and soft laughter. However, as the day brightened, the outside world began to call, reminding them of the responsibilities that at Y beyond their S at Tuuri. They reluctantly parted ways, the nth of their ember at sea giving way to the coolness of the morning air. Jimin stood up, his Bodi a sculpture of and muscle and at sea, and extended his hand. She took it, allowing him to pull her to her feet. Their connection as strong as steel. What do you say to breakfast in bed? He asked, his eyes filled with mischief. Yn raised her brow, a playful zim. Rike, see you ling her P's? Oh, really? She asked, her voice light. What do I have to do for that? The F. Ray in his eyes told her that the game was far from over, and that today would be filled with just as much sing and anticipation as the previous day. However, this time, she had the upper hand.